Evening, folks. Welcome along to another edition of the Irish Rally podcast in association with Tree Rock and SVS Productions. Big one this evening. We're looking back on Tarmac Championship. We are, of course, looking back on Ulster as well. And yeah, good bit to get through. Coming up very, very shortly, we'll be chatting to the winners of the Ulster Rally, Meirion Evans and Jonathan Jackson. After that, we'll be chatting with Neil Williams, the winner of the Historics Championship. Anthony O'Sullivan sends his apologies, as does Simon Reid, modified winner, who can't be with us this evening. Josh Moffett and Andy Hayes will be along just after Neil Williams, along with Richard Swanston. Josh and Andy, of course, winning the Tarmac Championship, and a double for Josh, adding to his national championship as well. So quite an achievement, it has to be said. So looking forward to chatting to the lads also. After that, then we'll be having a chat with Mr. Barney Mitchell. And as always, you can get in touch with us. You can send in a comment. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. But as always, just to make you aware that our Twitter comments aren't always the easiest to pull in on this interface. So YouTube and Facebook is definitely best for that. Fifth overall was Anthony Nestor, alongside Stuart Biggerstaff. How are you keeping, Anthony?
Hello.
Nice to join us there once more. I think
just
this podcast, Stephens and you have a lot in common.
Say that again to me now.
This podcast, Drivers Briefings, and you have a lot in common.
Oh, Jesus, not Drivers Briefings again. Don't bore me to death now. What's that all about? Tell me.
Late.
All right.
Yeah.
But at least I turn up to these things.
That's it. It might be at the 11th hour, but you never let us down. We'll bring in Jonathan
Jackson.
Jackson.
I hadn't realised, actually. I thought I was on, but it turned out I didn't hit the button at the bottom of the screen. I'm afraid my technological advancements passed me out a long time ago. So.
Yeah, but the first thing you do is blame someone else anyway, so we're getting used to that. Yeah. Jonathan Jackson, Meirion Evans. How are you keeping?
Hello, boys. How are you?
Gents, how are we doing?
Hi, guys.
Thanks for jumping on again, lads. Congratulations. The last time, Meirion, we were on, we were talking about you being the patron saint of silver. That's all changed. You guys must have been buzzing.
We've changed it at last. I think last time I was on here, I was going to get a pizza in my face as well in the hotel room before the rally some night. So it's a bit more casual this time.
Yeah. All good after the weekend, Jay?
Yeah, still a bit knackered, to be honest. I didn't feel too well most of last week, so I'm just getting through that as well. So yeah, we're getting through it slowly.
Yeah. The first thing I'd have to ask, what was the feeling like when you finally got to the end of the rally, knowing that, so many times, oh God, that you come second, and you thought it was never going to be your day. You finally did it, I suppose, and emotions must have been high, lads, yeah?
Yeah, just obviously you're happy, but then the relief as well, you drive that, like the last loop, we had a big gap, especially after Johnny had the puncture, and it was just, you listen for things and you think you're going to hear everything. I mean, it's just not that nice in a way, but it's not a position that you'd ever sort of say that you wouldn't want to be in. So yeah, just the end of the last stage, we took a minute after the stop line, just took the helmets off and kind of just settled a bit before driving up to where Andy and the live stream and everything was. So just we just sort of come to terms with it a bit, because I think if you rush around, it can be a bit overwhelming. So just obviously you come second that many times, you just think kind of, is it ever going to finish, or am I always going to be second, So it's nice, like Kevin said on the ramp at the end, it's just nice to get the monkey off the back, and hopefully it can open the door for some more.
Yep.
I'm here observing Jonathan, and I don't know Jonathan all that well, only just to say a quick hello to, but I have never seen him so relaxed in all my life. He's just really, really relaxed there tonight.
Was it like that at the end of the start of the last stage, Jonathan, was it?
On the surface, yeah, but you could probably say I was like pedaling like a duck underneath. Just trying to keep it calm and keep things collected. But no, like Mez says, to get that win finally under the belt is amazing. It is quite a relief in a way, I suppose, being so close so many times. So to finally get it, it's nice, and just relaxing into the feeling and enjoying it, really.
And just from your point of view, lads, context has to be put on this. You're on the go a long time. I'd say the best part of the decade. You've been together. I think maybe 2013 or 2014 or so. Yeah.
14.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah.
So we've kind of come a long way together, which is quite rare these days. You see, we're saying on the way home, there's a lot of guys who won rallies together, but they haven't done the journey together, I suppose, which is what is quite unique with us, which is nice. So we've come from doing sort of little clubman single venue rallies all the way through, really. So Yeah, we've had some terrible days, but it's nice when a good one comes along.
Definitely.
I think it's like everything. You'll probably find there's a lot more satisfaction. At least you'll find after events when you both go home. I don't know whether you travel together. I'm assuming you may.
Yeah.
But I'm sure when you go home after a bad event, there's only the two of you to discuss it on the way home. And it's, as you said, it's nice to go through the peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
That you have bad days, and
it can be a long drive home, I can tell you that.
yes. But it's nice to have the adulation of a win to take home.
Yeah, definitely.
You'll probably find that, when history looks back on anything, they only remember who won the damn thing. It doesn't matter who finished second, third, or 23rd.
No, and usually it doesn't really matter how, doesn't it? I mean, it's
irrelevant. It's absolutely irrelevant. Nothing is ever. It's a statistic for every sport and everything. We all would remember what Callum McRae won, but we never remember what he came second in.
Exactly.
You just remember it's just the nature of the beast. But I know it was lovely. And to be fair, I just that's what I was doing when we came on. You were again as Kevin said about being silver medal. You were only 1.9 seconds off the lead on the first stage. You were from the get go.
I mean, and we would have probably won the second stage. We lost. I look back on the car, a good sort of 12 seconds in the field on the second stage, and we were only, I think, 4.8 off fastest. So, okay, Desi had a good run then over the Gullion, but I felt the Gullion was a pretty unique stage that kind of maybe didn't represent the rest of the rally.
No, it wouldn't. I suppose, to be fair, I've done the Gullion in the past, and I suppose it doesn't change much. Is it a dangerous stage? Yeah, you'd have to say it is. If you could, for the first stage of the rally, I have no doubt that the Gullion claimed 12 people this year, like it has done in the past. It's my own, from a personal perspective, I don't like it. Stuart, who I sit with on this event, didn't like it either. Because it got all end in tears and a very expensive bill. So it's not.
I know a good friend of ours, Davey Armstrong, went off there, and he lives in Newton Hamilton, so he knows the stage as well as anything, But still, he went off on the the first straight, but it was really nice.
Yes.
That was him. So
Which you'll find on that first straight, and I'm sure you'll know this as well. With the cars so wide and the grass seems to be coming in on the road, it seems to be catching the cars.
We were all
down there.
It wasn't nice, really, but
no.
I suppose once you got through it once, it kind of settled the nerves a bit to go back in the dark. I think if you'd have gone in first time in the dark, you'd have been really, really safe. But
no, I wouldn't. Well, it is. The second stage was lovely, to be fair.
It was. It's a lovely stage. The grip was pretty bad, I found, compared to what it was the last time we did it back in 19. I don't know if it's because of the hot weather or what, but just really inconsistent, I thought.
Interesting.
But nice road still. One of the best stages in Ireland, actually, I think. In terms
it's lovely, isn't it, John? It has been ran in the past because it's exactly the same as it was last year, if I remember.
That's it, pretty much, yeah. But it's been used on the circuit and stuff for years as well. And I think Lappy was very complimentary at that stage when he did the circuit. So,
what says? So, where from here? Do you come back to defend it next year? Or do you come back to have another go at the championship next year? What's in the pipeline? Do you bring John? I presume you're going to bring Jonathan, so I'm going to ask.
Don't think he's in line for a P45. But,
he could say the same about you, remember?
Well, yeah, it can go either way.
Works two ways.
But early signs was probably we'll look at it. Yeah, obviously the championship's finished quite early, so we've got a fair break. We're doing a rally next weekend actually at home, the Rally Cardigan. But after that, we've got probably 4 months off, so we can look at it. But I'd say now probably we'd look at doing the Tarmac Championship again, because I think we put ourselves in quite a good position this year with what we've learned and everything. So to just kind of throw that away for a year and do something else may be a bit wasteful. But I suppose we'll always have the experience, but it won't be as current, if we don't go back straight away.
Yeah, and I suppose you'll find, and I'm sure you'll realise this, if you look at your stage times from stage 2 last year to its version this year, you'll see that your speed increases as the years go on. Some of the guys have been here many times in the past.
But to be honest, you feel it. Like, even there were some jumps in the stage that we hit in 2019 and the car barely took off. And I think on Friday night, it was like, you were in the air for a while. And I thought, well, okay, we are going a good bit faster this year.
Yeah. I know I don't think anyone will begrudge either you that victory. It was fabulous to see it.
Thank you.
And the club ran a fantastic event. I thought
they did. The Ulster get some stick for running things to the book usually, which
Yeah.
But the whole Park Ferme thing maybe, but that's the way it is. I mean, the rally, in terms of running, like we run the first car on the road for 5 stages on Saturday, and we weren't held on a start line once. We were into the arrival control and we down to the start line, and it was sort of 3 minutes from your arrival to start time. It was bang on every time.
I think one of the. Sorry, Jonathan.
The whole of Saturday ran on the minute, I think, which is quite rare actually.
It is, yeah. And to be fair, we touched on it briefly on the pre-event podcast there last Tuesday night, and that, as you quite rightly said, it's as per the book. But the advantage is it's as per the book for everybody.
Exactly.
So you either like it or you don't, and sure, that's fine. It's a bit like Bovril. You love it or hate it.
To be honest, if you go rallying anywhere else in Europe, it's the way it is. So, there's no falling out. You do a small national rally in France, the car has to sit in Parc Ferme for an hour. So that's the way it is. I mean, we do things differently at the end of the day. So it's not something that I really complain about. It's probably just the nature of the beast. It's just frustrating when you have to go and rush to the boat.
I was just going to say that, like, you went back pretty quickly, did you?
We did. The boys kind of said, we'll go back. So, like I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and like, to be fair, most of the events in Ireland have a prize giving after, so that would have given me an excuse to stay. But obviously the trophies and everything were given out on the ramp, and there was kind of nothing after that. So we decided to head back because we've got a fair bit on. Because Dad's doing a rally this weekend, and then obviously the rally next week as well. So yeah, enough on at work.
That boat can be choppy enough at the best of times without a few on board anyway, so maybe you made the wise decision, I would say, somehow or another.
Well, the other side,
I've never really tried that.
I think the other side of that is think of all the money you saved on the free drink you would have had to buy if you were at the bar on Saturday night. So.
I've seen Andy Hayes' bar bill, and I won't tell you how much it was.
We'll ask him in a few minutes when he's on.
We'll ask him later on.
Yeah.
Few comments coming in. Niall Burns is calling bullshit on you, Anthony. He said stage 2 was not exactly the same as last year. You're slipping, he says. You're slipping. Yeah.
The first 2 miles was 3 or 4 miles different.
Yes, the start was different. Yeah, we came in at a different location. Yeah, he's right. Sorry, Niall Burns. I should have known better, shouldn't I?
We rejoined where everybody went off in November.
Yes.
Yeah. Down the hill. Well, it was down the hill in November. It was coming towards it this year.
Yeah.
Question for you, Meirion, as well, from Mike Cleary. How would Meirion feel if the Ulster was a part of the WRC event next year? Should it go ahead?
It would be great. I mean, for me, I said it to a lot of people, obviously, when Rally Northern Ireland was being discussed this year, that rally would be more of a home rally for me than if it came to Wales, in a way that I've competed obviously a lot more on Irish Tar than what I have, on Welsh gravel in what I'm driving now anyway. So, it's something I would jump at, but I'm not sure if it will happen. I don't know, but if we got the chance, it would be unreal, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Niall Burns has accepted the apology. Always good to catch you out, he said, Anthony.
Oh, good God.
There you are. Actually, something Rona Comfort's been in touch. He said Melvin is a strong lineup of cars to look after next week. Looking forward to it, and thanks to Jonathan for the tips so far. And I was just going to ask you about Melvin in general. Obviously, proud as punch.
Mel's, yeah. I think the boys were saying he was pacing a lot.
Yeah, well, Dad has a bit of history with that car park, the service area was, because last year we had Matt and Oshin going for the British Championship, and I said to him, I've never seen him pace so much in his life, the last loop when they were so close. And then this year the boys said to me he was exactly the same because he couldn't watch the live streams. He said, one of the boys in service said every time the Killian or the other live stream would pop up at the end of the stage, nobody, like Dad just would walk away. Like he just wants somebody to tell him that we're there and that's it.
A bit like an expectant father running up and down the ward.
Pretty much. But I think he was actually more laid back about that from what I've heard. He was almost late, so.
Very
God,
good, very good.
I can see a podcast coming out of this, yes.
Yeah.
Gone down a different road now.
Yeah. Lads, we'll leave it at that. Well done again. And thanks a million for jumping on with us here this evening, all right?
Thank you very much.
Well done, guys. God bless.
Evans and Jonathan Jackson. Neil Williams joins us now. Neil, congratulations. How are you keeping, sir?
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite, Kev. Hi, Anthony. How are you? All right?
How How are you? Well done.
Good, thanks. Yeah.
The overseas boys are taking over a lot here. I noticed over the last weekend. But I tell you one thing, during the course of that championship, you've been absolutely brilliant. We've remarked upon the historics and the fact that, you know, it's been so competitive, the speed, the draw for it. And in many ways, this has nearly become the Irish Tarmac Historics Rally podcast, I suppose, if you want to put it that way. Such is the popularity of it. But yourself and Anthony O'Sullivan, you know, you've done the business. Anthony unfortunately couldn't join us here this evening, but you know, you must be thrilled.
Yeah, I'm over the moon. Obviously, it's a real thrill to have done what we wanted to achieve, set out to achieve. The reason I'm so happy is the fact that I only did 5 events really out of the 6 that could have counted, and obviously we just proved the point that you can do it like that. And you know, it's we were just lucky that we had a good run, we had good reliability, we had a good speed from the start of the year as well. But yeah, it's, you know, as you said, it is getting much more popular now, sort of historic side of things. You know, there's a lot of guys over my side now that have sort of converted and thinking of coming away from modifieds to go into historics. So there will be a few other names now coming over the next year, I reckon, from over my side. But yeah, I think it is going from strength to strength, to be honest.
I think you set out your stall from the get-go. I'm just looking at the stage times here. You were obviously the quickest on the first stage, so it's nice to be quickest on the first stage. It's not that you inherited anything. You grasped it from stage 1 and took it from there. But I just did a comparison back here. You did a 6:10.6. It was good for 6th or 7th overall on the international event. So it just proves at a 6:10 would have, well, there we go. A 6:10 would have your 7th overall, just behind 6:10, 7th overall. So it just proves that the historic category has come on as the years have passed. Obviously, there's quicker and quicker cars. But yeah, it just shows the speed you're traveling. Like it's not like it was 20 years ago. It's far from it.
Oh no, it's far from it. It's obviously we've proven that, and other guys have proven it as well. And to be honest with you, I didn't really think we'd had a good stage. I didn't get a flow. I think maybe because it was a late start. Was quite nervous of the whole weekend, knowing I had a certain thing to do and whatever. I came to the end of the stage and I was cursing and shouting and whatever. Just thought that was a really bad stage. But then we saw Andy at the end of the stage and on the interview, and he said, "Well, there's a good time." And I realised then that the other guys were very, very close to my time, but we had taken some time off some modified guys also. I thought, well, I was quite surprised with that, to be honest.
Yeah, several of the R5s, you took plenty of time off them as well. I'm just looking down through it. But it's and as we discussed with the 2 guys on before you, the first stage wasn't for the faint-hearted up over the top of that mountain. So
yeah, I was obviously won the recce, and the viewing I'd seen the week before. I looked at the onboards, and it was very similar to our epint over here, you know. But it was an eye opener to start the rally off with. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was good. It was a positive start, and we were quite surprised with the pace, really.
Go on, Anthony. I had another one lined up there. No, I was just going to say,
I thought the dog was going to come in the back door to me. That's all right. He tried to open it there. That's all.
When you consider, I suppose, the times that you've remarked upon there and the amount of driving, Neil, that's in those cars, that's phenomenal. Like, the arms be wore off, I'd say, after these events.
Yeah, that is the only thing about the cars, because obviously we're all used to modern cars, daily driving. Like, you know, it's just simple push button starts and power steering and, you know, park assist and all these things. When you've got when you have to come from out of that in a day car back to basics, it's an eye opener. You know, it takes you a while to get into it, but you know, it's not just the steering. Obviously, you've got to look after the gearbox. You've got to look after the brakes. You know, they're not the biggest brakes you can get. Like, you know, the power-wise, there's not much in it between that and a good 2-litre class, really. But you just got to look after the car. You've got to think about getting the car to the end of the rally, because she won't last. You'll be going through gearboxes, you know, like sort of confetti if you don't watch it. Like, but it's tough work.
Throughout the whole championship this year, what I suppose has been the standouts for you, or is there one? If there's not, give us the whole lot of them.
Well, it didn't start too well, really. I started in Killarney. I wasn't very well at all. We got the result for the championship points, but we'd finished higher up on the rally itself a few years before. Probably the West Cork. I enjoy going to West Cork. That's Anthony's home event. We've always gone well there ever since we got together in 2018. Probably the most enjoyable run, I think, probably was the Lakes and getting to do the Gap in the dry, because I was been doing historic Killarney historic since, like I said, 2018, and it's always been wet. And we've always said at the end of that stage, wouldn't that be nice to do that stage in the dry on some medium or soft slicks, And we got to do it on the Lakes, and it was great. It was a great feeling. It's there's a couple of other ones on the Lakes as well, which were classic ones, which I enjoyed. But yeah, I think I enjoyed every event, and I think there's not really a standout stage or rally considering. But I will say that the last rally, the Ulster we just did now, was a real eye opener compared to normal sort of Irish tar, if you like. It just doesn't match up to the same. It's a much more intense rally. It's a much tougher, much more technical. Whereas you guys know the situation. Whereas you got your West Corks, your Cork 20s, your Rally the Lakes. There's much more fast, open flowing stages. Whereas Ulster was very technical.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I was saying it was the very first time that we completed a full book of pace notes in writing. It was in excess of 30 pages of notes per stage, with the exception of the short one on the first one. And we've never had that before. And whereas if you looked at it, and I'm assuming you'll agree maybe with me on this, that if you looked at the rally the week before on paper, you'd say, yeah, this ain't so bad. It's a 6 miler, it's a 15 miler, it's handy. Yeah. And it was hard work. It was harder to do the Ulster than the 3 days in Donegal, without a doubt.
I'm sure.
Absolutely. Sure. Even from a co-driver's point of view, the base note calling, as you said, intense. There was no 300 to the chicane. It was 21 right and 5 right and 4 right and on and on. Like it just, there was no. And from a driver's point of view, to have to compute that and drive, and it was just twisty sections after twisty sections. It was relentless. So,
and also the added thing we found on this weekend now was, because we were trying to finish the event and be safe and to go for the championship, Anthony commented after, I think, 2 or 3 stages, that we just couldn't find a good rhythm all weekend for pace note calling and pacing ourselves pace-wise, because, we've been used to going quicker. And, I think I was probably driving a lot less than I was willing to push on, and Anthony was sort of, the timing of the note was awkward for him as well, then,
I can relate to that 100%. It's hard to believe this, and I suppose it's like everything, unless you've been there, it's impossible to understand. But it would be easier to call notes to you at full speed than half speed.
Yeah,
makes no sense to most.
I know.
But I can know exactly what the other Anthony, my namesake, is saying. It is absolutely, and you know yourself when you come off a stage, if it's good or bad without looking at any clock. You know if it flowed and if it worked, or if. But as you said, if you're going slow, he's inclined to go ahead of you. He's not used to you going at that speed. And then you might get a notion halfway through the stage to speed up, and then he has to speed up and come back.
I know. It's tough.
I understand.
Yeah, it's tough. It made it tough, obviously, with a lot to think about and with a lot to get done for us, So.
There's a few comments coming in. Ashley Trimble says, totally agree with Anthony. Notes for stages, 30 pages plus, busy in the left-hand seat. Duncan Williams has said, well done, Neil and Anthony, from the 2019 historic champion. Another comment from Duncan, that's nice to see. Talking Lakes, hopefully we'll be down to Cod's Head and our groom in 2023. And keeping with the team of Killarney in general, Owen Murphy said, well done, Neil. You have to win the Baby Lakes now. A couple of more before I come back to you. Morris Meskel says well done as well, and John Smithick likewise. So plenty of tributes coming in.
Plenty opposition for you for the Baby Lakes, I guess.
Oh yeah. That's hopefully the one I got penciled in next now. Nothing for me now before, but there's a few bits to do in the car now and bits and bobs now. But that's hopefully what we'll do next. Hopefully.
I might have seen as Owen Murphy come on there. Maybe I might give him a call there and see are we going. Maybe we get this Mark II Escort out again. So.
Yeah. You're a Baby Lakes winner yourself, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
First and third was the best. So we had first in the Sunbeam, and we had third in the in the Mark II Escort, the BDA. We were shocked at how quick a BDA went. I hadn't been in a BDA for 30 years, and I went, wow. But Owen is a big, strong lad, and you'll find that, as Neil says, man, it was like a workout in a gym, no power steering. It was. It's all fine till you're in the tight stuff in Killarney and the likes of going up Ballockbee, man. The squares and the squares. You see the sweat coming off it. It's the slow speed square corners are the problem. The high speed stuff is not as big an issue, but
that's right. Yeah. No.
That's her. Listen, Neil, I'll leave it at that. Thanks a million for coming on, and well done again. All right.
Lovely. Thanks for the invite. Thank you very much.
Well done. God bless.
Again. Brilliant stuff. Okay, next up, first of all, we've got Andy Hayes. How are you keeping, Andy?
Not so bad, guys. Are things? Are you well?
Flying it now.
That's a
Flying
lovely
it. You weren't chatting to Josh, were you? I don't see any sign of him there backstage.
I wasn't actually. No. I haven't got a hold of him all evening.
You see, that was your fault, Kevin. Maybe. You made that blunder because I thought you rang him. You thought I rang him. And
did you remember earlier when we said it's always someone else's fault?
Yeah.
you see where
it's your fault, yeah. But sure, I'm just making sure I got that off the way. Like.
Look, I'll front up as the owner and host of this podcast. I'll take full responsibility of it. I'll be a politician about it. Andy, congratulations, man. You must be buzzing.
Thanks very much. Yeah. Finally sober again. Anyway, that's the main thing.
So this tab, talk to me. Triple digits, quadruple digits. Meirion was chatting about it there earlier. Plenty of beer drink.
Right, sure. Meirion saw it. Yeah. We went for a few drinks on Sunday afternoon and to celebrate back home extra here, and the bar tab got out of hand on us. So I got into the 4 digits anyway.
Had to be done. Yeah, listen, it was probably, would you say it was the most difficult drive that both of you had to do? Like, I heard Andrew Nesbitt and Eugene Donnelly remark upon it, like the difficulty of that, of trying to keep a pace where you're going to stay on the road, but not go too slow at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah, it's exactly like Neil said there. Same exact same thing. It's easier just to go flat out. You know, you go to somewhere like Donegal there or Cork there, especially where we were racing hard, and you're just thinking, he goes flat out, I go flat out, and if something goes wrong, and so be it. Whereas at the weekend there, you're in, as Anthony says, you're in really, really busy stages. There's so many places you could get cut out, and you look like the biggest fool in the world if you get cut out. So you're there trying to go 90%, and you're still having little bits of moments. And then you say, better go 80%. And then you're thinking, if I go off now at this speed, I'm really going to look like an idiot. So, what you call it, it's hard. Especially in those stages, you know, there's certain rallies and that are a little bit easier than others. Ulster is always a tough rally. The weather's always changeable. The stages are always difficult up there, like so. It's not an easy one to try and pick your way through. You know, there are other rallies that you'd pick your way through to the end safely, a little bit easier.
Would you think that a change in the structure of the points within the championship would help?
I think so. Yeah. I suppose this year, like it was a bit of an odd one, just the way the points worked out in the end. I suppose, like, don't get me wrong, I understand exactly why the points are loaded towards the back of the season. It happened to us in 2018 in the opposite way. 18, myself and Josh won the championship, but we didn't actually go to the last round. Because at the time, because Sam didn't put an entry in for the last round, that meant we were by default the winners and we didn't have to go either. So the watch called the championship was effectively won, and Sam and Josh were sitting there one evening when Sam decided he wasn't going. So there was no climax to the year. There was no kind of celebrations. There was nothing. It was just, I got a phone call one evening and the lads said Sam's not going, and that was it then. He won the championship. So after 10 or 12 years of rallying and in that year then of having a hard championship, all of a sudden that was it. It was just, you've won and there was nothing. So I understand exactly why the lads, the organisers wouldn't want to be in that position again. And so I get the idea of having, you know, a kind of a waiting towards the end of the year. But I think the way it worked out in the end, it probably went too far. I think the lads would agree as well, the organisers, it probably went too far the wrong way. What it meant really was that the championship was all about Ulster really, and everything else was a bit of a sideshow to it. So everything, hindsight is 2020, and you sit here now and you look back at the year and you kind of go, you know what? It didn't really make much difference about Donegal. It didn't make much difference really about Cork 20. The big race that went on at the very end of it. Had Callum have bet us, what we'd had 3 points less going into Ulster. It would have meant we'd have to come third rather than fourth. It didn't really make any difference, that big race after all. And I don't know, it just feels a little bit kind of off kilter then when there's so much emphasis put onto one rally, 2 days rallying, and particularly even on the Friday of Ulster, which is only, I think, 27 stage miles. So effectively, the 27 stage miles on Friday night in Ulster last week were more important than the 3 days of Donegal put together, which just didn't really feel right,
And of course, the same amount of points awarded, of course, for
exactly
the 27 miles to the 3 days of Ulster.
But a much bigger risk, because if you went off on Friday of Ulster, you were going to lose your chance at Saturday's points also. So if you did something stupid on the 27 miles of Friday in Ulster, you were losing the possibility of getting 34 points. Whereas if you did something stupid in Donegal, you were going to lose the possibility of getting 17 points. So it just weighted it so much. Now look at it. We can't complain. We won a championship in the end. So it all worked out in the end. But it's something I think it should be looked at for next year, definitely want to keep the championship alive, but you don't want to make it all about one event or 2 days rallying,
Yeah, I suppose when you look at it that way, you would kind of think, well, is it a case of pace yourself all year, don't do anything stupid, knock in a clatter of results, and then have the big finale at the end?
Yeah, and I suppose I'd actually said that to the lads at the start of the year. Kind of, I went through the points myself, and you could see it, if that makes sense, but you didn't really believe it, if you know what I mean. So
yes,
like I said to Josh all along, like really what you have to do is you have to go to the first, the first 5 rounds of championship, and you have to, the first 6 rounds of championship, and just basically build a base of points so that when you go to the big shootout then in Ulster, that you're at a fighting chance of winning it, because it's all about Ulster really. I've been kind of saying that to Josh and to Tom all along through the year. But I didn't even really believe exactly what I was saying, if that makes sense. But now when you look back and hindsight is 2020, it feels a bit unfair on the likes of Callum and Ali, who went off genuinely fighting for rally wins in Killarney and Donegal and Cork. But looking back now, the lads would have been better off to say, I'm not even going to bother trying to win the rally. I'm just going to come second. And they'd have been in Ulster and they'd have had their fighting chance in Ulster. If I was in a championship next year with anyone, I would say to them, best thing you do is just do exactly what Meirion did. Do the very smart thing. Come to the top 3 all year, get to the last round of the championship, and then you have your fight. There's more to be lost by going off in any of those first 6 events than there is to be gained by actually winning them. And I don't think going to the likes of Donegal Rally and having the top drivers thinking that frame of mind is a good thing for the sport. I always think that what you should do is flat out. Definitely, I would say the rally I enjoyed most of all the year was Cork 20. Going absolutely flat out on Sunday was brilliant. I think Josh was the exact same. And I'd say the lads, Callum, I think would agree as well. They thought it was a brilliant day. That's what we all get into sport to do, go flat out. So why do anything else?
Yeah, interesting points. Yeah,
I suppose it's coming in, Anthony. Sorry, just I'll put them to Andy once, or while they're coming in. Calls for a joke around as an idea was one, and Sean Hayde is looking for your suggestion on what you would do going forward then.
Yeah, for me, I look back actually to the last 4 years, and the rules have been changed kind of every year really. The last 4 years, the bonus was slightly different. 1 year I think it was double points, simple double points. 1 year was points and a half. What I would probably do myself is, rather than call it a 7-round championship with the last round being double points, I would call it an 8-round championship, with Ulster being 2 rounds, let's say, for instance, or the last round being 2 rounds. So it counts as 2 point scores, but also counts as 2 drop rounds. So you still have the chance of getting your 2 scores in Ulster, but it's not all about Ulster if you go off in Ulster, if that makes sense. So you get full points for Saturday, full points for Sunday, and you have 8 rounds in total then, and you can drop any 2 of those. So in that case, Callum had only dropped 2 non-scores all year up to Ulster, so he would have been still fully in the fight going into Ulster, and he could have won the championship fair and square, the same as anyone. But equally, if someone did something stupid in Ulster, it didn't mean the year was over either. So that's probably the simplest way I would do it. The other thing I would do maybe is look at changing the number of points for the first, second, and third. I think it's 17, 14, and 12. And there's probably not enough of a gap between first and second to really fight for it. So if you go back and look at the year again, and as I said, hindsight is 2020. You look at the battle we had with Callum in Cork 20. You look at the battle Ali had with Callum in Killarney, and you look at the battle in Donegal, and you say, you know what, for the sake of the 3 points, was it really worth fighting for first? And again, I don't think it's a good thing to have a championship that means that people not really fighting for first. I think I'd maybe make it 20 points for a win, something like that. Maybe 16 points for second and 12 points for third. And that way, then it's weighted towards the guys who absolutely go for it and try and win the rallies, and the guys who absolutely take the big risks and get the big wins on the days. I'm.
Before you jump in here, Anthony, Paddy Ganna's suggestion there, Andy, he says just put Wexford in the championship, full stop.
Is that the hurling championship or the rally championship?
Hey, nice little segue, actually. You may give a shout out to it there. I know we remarked upon it with Gary Nolan last week, but
yeah, look at it. I suppose I'm kind of involved in doing a small bit of work to help out Wexford this year. It looks like it's going to be a very good rally, to be fair. We've 160 entries in, and actually anyone that's thinking about doing the rally, entries close on Friday, and the seeding has been done early next week. So I would say get your entry in. It's actually, particularly for a clubman and for anyone really, it's good value this year. It's 230 kilometers for €1,150, which I believe is the cheapest entry fee per kilometer of the year. And it's 18 stages as well. And people don't think about that sometimes, but 18 stages was pushed by the competitors of Wexford Motor Club this year because of problems people are having in other rallies where maybe there were many stages, only 6 stages. If you were doing a 6-stage rally and 2 stages get blocked, you lose a third of your mileage. If you're doing an 18-stage rally, two stages get blocked, you're still doing most of the rally, So that was the reason for having 18 shorter stages rather than maybe 12 longer stages. So no, but to come back to your question, a lot of people have said to me over the last couple of years, I certainly wouldn't be against the idea. I think it'd be great. If you look at the what's called the logo for the TROA, it's a map of Ireland with a dot for where every rally is, and you can see they're in the northwest and the what's called the northeast. They're in the west, they're in the southwest, but there's nothing in the southeast or the east. So it would be nice. It would make it a full geographically. It'll make it a full championship of the year, and also then Wexford is a little bit later in the year, obviously, and you end up starting in February and finish in September. So even calendar-wise, the spread-wise, it would it would be good. And then, as I said, Wexford runs a kind of a pretty. I wouldn't say pretty, a very good 2-day rally, in my opinion, anyway. And the stages this year, for instance, are all picked by competitors, so that there's a nice bit of driving in them. The loop is usually relatively tight, and we don't have these massive long road sections. I know maybe a while ago or a few years ago, the rally got a good reputation for having a lot of chicanes and straights, but that hasn't been the case for a good few years now. Anyone that's come recently will tell you that's not the case anymore. So generally, they have good service areas, and Wexford Town has plenty of hotels and all the rest. So I think they'd be well able to take a night an Irish Tarmac round if that was the case. Yeah.
I think on stage mileage, having done a little bit of research, if you factor the shortened version of Fanit this year and the run over Danny Drive that didn't happen, the mileage is more favourable, I believe, I think, by working it out. That's on the basis that no stage will be lost in Wexford now, which is a big assumption to make as well. But it's mad when you look at it from that point of view.
I think if someone was to do the full 18 stages of Wexford, they will do more mileage than myself and Josh did in Donegal. For €150. So there you go. That has to be good value anyway.
Can't argue with that one. That's all.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you was, well, there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you before we let you go. I've already asked one. Where's Josh? But apart from that, you're out in Galway, I think, this weekend, according to the entry list. So tell us a little bit about that.
I am, yeah. So unfortunately, Josh isn't able to come into Exeter this year. He came down for me last year, and we did a rally. I was pushing for to come down, being in my home rally. We did a rally, we won it, so I was delighted. Unfortunately, he couldn't come this year. He's away. He's actually going to take a couple of holidays this year for a change. So that doesn't involve rallying. So he's away in September. But I'm going to do it with Andrew Purcell in the Skoda Fabia. I know Andrew, it was 8 years. We did gravel notes with Craig Breen together back in 2014-15. It was actually Andrew that first asked me to do gravel with him for Craig, which is how I got to know Craig, which is how I got to know Tom Gahan, which is how I got to know Josh and Dara Reardon and Andrew Fannin and all the guys that I've sat with since. So I owe an awful lot to Andrew, to be fair to him, only for him. I don't think I'd have got any of the kind of R5 and WR seats I got, and certainly not 3 championships anyway. So the plan is to go up to Galway and get a shakedown in the car together. And get a bit more mileage under Andrew's belt. He's only done 2 days rally in the last 4 years. And then
I'll remove Anthony for a second until the dog gets removed.
before he gets eaten there. And I'll go to Exeter then. That's the plan then. And try to make a cut at Wexford. The watch call this. There's good entry in Exeter this year. I can't give everything away. We have to keep something for the World Club PR, but some good R5 names coming down. You have, I would say, 5 or 6 different drivers. It's hard to pick the winner of the rally from. So for sure it'll be a good battle anyway, no matter what happens.
Mm-hmm. And just a word on Josh, right? Because was it 17 the forestry and the tarmac was under? Was it 18? You said you won the 2 to 1 year, I think.
Yeah, 18. Myself and Josh won the tarmac, and himself and Stephen Thornton won the forestry.
Yeah, and if you look at what he's done now by winning the tarmac and the national, I'm up the correction on this. I think he's only the 3rd person to do it. I know Tim McNulty did it, and I know Declan Boyle did it. So that's quite an achievement now, in fairness. Like,
I think Donna won it, didn't he? Did Donna do it 1 year? No,
did he do it as well? Declan, I think, might have been the 2nd to do it anyway after Tim, because remember, I think 2011 Tim did it in around that time anyway. So there's not many, like, you look at.
Sam did all 3 in 1 year, I think, didn't he? Pretty sure.
I Sam on about that actually. Did I last year? I think, possibly. Yeah.
But no, it's been a fantastic year for Josh, to be fair. Himself and Keith have been unbeatable, literally unbeatable in the national. So he's been absolutely flying. A nice bit of seat time obviously helps. But he's been very relaxed this year as well, and it's like anyone really. You meet Josh on the Wednesday night before Recce, before any of these rallies, and you can tell straight away if you have a good weekend or not. He turns up in good form, he's in good spirits, and you just know this lad's out for a cut this weekend. And everything seems to come very easy to him, like natural driving, like it's phenomenal, and it's funny. You just never be nervous in the car with him, even down in the Cork 20 there. On the Sunday, people are saying to me, "Geez, it must have been pay raise and stuff, and he must have been breaking it and all the rest." And he was saying, "Actually, no, he wouldn't be, because he's more nervous than me in a way, because he's looking out the window and he's seeing what's happening. He's thinking, geez, I'm gonna have a problem here." And I'm just sitting there going, he's just so naturally gifted with it that you just, I'm sure he won't crash, And every time the car seems to get away, and you just think, I'm sure he'll save it. One of these days, I'm going to get a rude awakening. But
Sam has won the 3. Keith Moriarty is right in there to burn that one. I asked Keith on there as well, sent the link, but he said he's sprawled out in the bed, and he didn't want everyone seeing him. But I'd say that after seeing more somehow or another. But anyway, he's there commenting. He might still come on the air with us. But anyway, that's.
Don't tell me Moriarty is one of these people with the paisley pajamas and too embarrassed to come on again, is he?
Paint me like one of your French girls. I can see him now. Yeah.
Keith's a great man for the stats. He watched college. He was a great man to compare.
Hey, hold on. I have another comment here now. This is an interesting one. Marion Evans wants to know: is Andy annoyed that Keith Moriarty has more Wexford wins than him?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. We won Wexford last year, and I got a message off Keith saying, try winning 3 times and then come back to me.
Well, here's a question to add to that, which was in my head. Which one of you has won more events, you or Keith Moriarty?
Keith.
By many?
God, we used to have this stat off by heart, but then Keith won so many this year. He's gone well ahead of me, so I've lost count. I think Keith is up around. I'm on 15, I think it is, and I think Keith's up around 20.
So I take it you're doing the national next year, then, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to go to
Yeah.
that again next year. 19, I got ahead of him when we did it. Myself and Josh did the national. We stole a few wins on him, so I have to switch back again next year. So, but I enjoyed telling him that you're looking at, one day rallies. I wouldn't count them Keats. I need 2 days to count. It's in my favour then.
Hey, come here. Last but not least, I know there's obviously a strong Celtic connection, and it's just something I wanted to remark upon that kind of pissed me off a little bit, to be honest. Is Irish people taking a pop at Craig, which I thought was a little bit cheap over the last few days, considering what he's done. Like, very recently been down in Cork in the spare time to do a forest rally to raising the profile of it. And my message to them would be, go and do what he's done before you go and make a ridiculous comment. But I suppose you always get those guys, don't you, Andy?
Yeah, and I suppose people, I don't think, fully appreciate what he's doing out there. I only saw a bit of it. I did gravel for Craig for probably 4 or 5 years, and I did a bit of testing with him, a couple of rallies with him and that kind of stuff. So I only kind of got a glimpse into it, but the amount of work that's going in there and the level those guys are at is absolutely phenomenal. I started with Craig for the Finland test in 2018, I think it was, in the World Car at the time in the CP, what's called 18 spec World Car. And I mean to say, I've never witnessed anything in my life. Like, it's a whole different level again. Like, you think you're going hard here, and you think, you're flying, and you do rallies here. And yeah, like, the pace is massive here. But you go out there again, and it's just a whole other level again. And I think people don't really fully realize that you go out there, and if you're at 99.5%, you're 3 or 4 seconds a stage off, and you look like you're going slow, and everyone thinks, oh, sure, your man's at nothing, and all that. It's a million miles away from that. He is still doing exceptionally well to be there and doing what he's doing. So I'd say that firstly, before I go anywhere. It's funny, Josh on your remark the weekend there, he said, if people are often say to him, Jesus, you should be in the world team, never mind Craig, and all this kind of stuff. And Josh just turned around to me and goes, do these people have any concept? He said, if I went out there, he'd be so far off the pace, because those guys are at such a high level. It's phenomenal, so I think Craig is doing a fantastic job. Obviously the year isn't turning out the way he would have wanted, and I know particularly last year, rallies, he had said himself, Estonia, Finland, and Ypres were 3 rallies where he performed on really well in years gone past, and he was hoping for 3 really good results. And unfortunately, small mistakes and small margins make massive differences out there. You don't get away with anything out there. I went out actually to watch. I did the recce for Finland with Paul Rowley, and then we went out to watch as well, and the weekend. And the pace these guys are on, these cars, is just it's frightening, like, in places. And you get the car 6 inches offline, you hit a rock, that's it, it's all over. And I think it was proved that this weekend, sure, everyone made a mistake this weekend in the rough and pair at Tarmac Winners, everyone. So I certainly wouldn't blame anyone that's operating at that level. I think I'd actually look at the other side of things and say, to have an Irish person operating at that level of the sport, I think is brilliant. And I just hope that, between Craig and the team and everything, that, they get everything sorted and everything starts to click for them. I'm sure it will anyway. And it'll be brilliant to see them, come back in, back in Monte Carlo in January, regroup, and make a big cut at next year's championship. So hopefully that's how it works out for the guys. I'm sure it will.
There's one other thing I have to mention, just reading up there today. The deputy team director of Hyundai was very complimentary towards yourself and Josh, and indeed Keith as well. That was nice to see, yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised actually. Keith got to mention everything. Yeah, he must be delighted there in bed. It was actually nice to read that. Right, I just saw that today, right, and I thought it was a nice thing to read. So look at if he's listening there, I'm sure he tunes in. We're open for World Car drives or any events he wants. So if there's a spare seat, we'll take it anytime.
Absolutely.
There you are now. Anthony, anything you want to say before we finish up?
No, it's something we. I'm glad you asked me to talk, because I was going to text Moriarty here and tell him, send me an email address. I'll log you back in and log you in here to chat.
He has the link. It was sent to him.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, I didn't see any of the social media comments on Craig. I suppose, look, it's disappointing. Look, we're well used to keyboard warriors and their comments. There's not a person in this country who could tie that young man's shoelaces. Like, let's call a spade a spade. If he came here to do a tarmac rally, as he has done, he was winning them in leaps and bounds. It's just on a different level completely. I think it's something we spoke about in the past when we had Paul Nagel on some last May before the Killarney event. On the televised coverage, we see all the glamorous side. We don't see all the hardship and the shite and the years away from home and the loneliness and the fitness and the gym work and oh man, it's just a dedication. It's a vocation. Is it disappointing to see him going through such a hard time? Yes. Will he come out stronger out of it afterwards? Please God, absolutely. Everybody does. Look, nobody goes through life with everything easy, and he's certainly getting nothing handed to him. And all these people that are preaching negative about him, they will change at the flick of a coin. All he needs is one result, and all that's forgotten. Yeah. I think it's like everything. You're only as good as the last deed you do, which is sad, really, because the effort. And if people only realize the effort they're making, and they're so proud of flying the Irish flag all the time, like there's nobody else doing it for us. I don't know. I think we should be very proud of them. It's a great benchmark when they come. As I said to the guys that were on for the forestry event last week, and apologies, I can't remember who finished second to them, and I should know.
Patrick O'Brien.
Apologies. Isn't it much better for Patrick O'Brien to say he finished second to Craig Breen than winning the rally? And we said it last week, especially when he becomes world champion someday. And is it hard work? Yes, it is. Look, you should never kick a man when he's down, but he'll get up stronger, please God. But, yeah.
I'll sum it up for you here, lads, with a cliche that a wise man once taught me. I went to the shop the other day and talk was still cheap. So that's where it's at with that particular thing.
I like that.
Andy, I'm going to leave it at that. Congratulations once more to yourself and Josh, and thanks a million for coming on. I've enjoyed the chat here this evening. Thank you.
Guys, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Very welcome.
Andy Hayes, what a gent. Richard Swanston, how are you keeping, sir? Sorry, we're a little bit behind schedule.
It's all right. Yeah, well, yourself?
Sure, flying it. I know there was a couple of points that we made there regards championship structures and all that you might have takes on, but I also know that you have some class results for us, so I might get you to blast on through them if you don't mind first.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, we run an international rally, but obviously a national rally. The winner of that was Street Biggerstaff and some guy Anthony Nestor sitting with him.
Never heard of him.
Well done to them. No. So yeah, class. I'm just running through them here on rally score. Apologies, I haven't memorised them. So RC4, Jason Dixon, Dylan Doom, sitting with him. We're winners of that. Class and 4 is the next one. Ben Walsh and Damien Sheridan, winners of that. And 5, Sam Adams with Michael Johnson sitting beside him, which Michael worked in Ulster Rally for many years. And 6, great drive by John Devlin, local man in his Mark II Escort with John McCarthy sitting beside him. And 7 was Marty Toner, Ben Taggart. And 8, no entries. We're getting there. H2 then in the historics was Trevor Wilson and Paul Mulholland in the 911. The car looked fantastic over the weekend. Just actually a great picture of it from Sleeve Gullion, and must be on the first stage on Friday. H3, of course, Neil Williams. A great drive there with Anthony Sullivan. And we have one entrant in class H4B, Arlette Carty, Jack Carty, and Nova. And H5, David Pedley and Callum Young. So that's all the class winners, and well done to all of them, and thank you for entering.
Good stuff. Well, listen, we'll have a chat with you about how the rally went from your own point of view, but what's your thoughts on the championship structures there that we were chatting about with Andy Hayes?
Yeah, look, it was a great discussion. I think there certainly is room for discussion there, and that's something that I'll be able to take back to Troa, and we'll look at that for next year and see is there a better way we can do it.
Yeah, plain and simple as you. There was a suggestion there. Now, I don't know if this is feasible with the amount of time that you'd have between, I suppose, calendar year to calendar year. But Tony O'Driscoll has wrote in and said championship should be rotated every year. Whoever starts first this year is last next year, and each club would have a final round of the championship. Could that be a goer? Is it just too much of an ask to have another rally ready for, we'll say, a January or a February? Like,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, an international rally, like any in the championship, in fact, even any rally really is nearly a full year planning. The other problem is getting a date with the ASN, be it MI or Motorsport UK. Dates are very hard to come by, so trying to get a different one to usual would be difficult. So, no, I think, and plus, I mean, there's always a bit of tradition around events, and when they're held, probably the Circuit of Ireland is maybe the most famous, with the Easter date. We moved to November last year, actually, just to facilitate things, and it worked better given COVID and all that, and it worked okay. But we're very lucky we got good weather in November. It could have been a very different story. So, no, I don't think changing championship dates it would be very practical.
the 9 months, I suppose, that you had between then and now, I'm sure while you got everything together and did it well, there was challenges with that. And you weren't, I suppose, the only club maybe that had to rotate a little bit during COVID and that, because Cork would have been in a similar situation, Cork 20 rally. But yeah, look, it is a discussion we've had kind of previously about maybe a thing where you can't completely flip it upside down, but maybe there is some room for manoeuvring. But we'll see how it all pans out. From your point of view, then, the weekend just gone. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, good. I was just based in service all weekend, so I can't really say too much about the stages. Anthony would probably have much more knowledge of those than me. But we are blessed with a fantastic service park, thanks to Modern Tires and Rory Byrne family in particular. The work that they put in the run up to the rally to get that yard and shed ready for us to take it over, and the way they facilitate us is just fantastic. In the past couple of years, to be honest, trying to base a rally anywhere, the first thing we need to do is find a service park, and the space that you need is very hard to come by, to keep everything equal for everybody, to get a decent surface, to try and make everybody in the same place. So the facility up at Modern Tires is just amazing. I don't know if you've seen the drone shot from the nighttime service.
Yeah, I shared it there on Facebook page. Social media. It was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
I mean, just brilliant. So yeah, we're really blessed with that. As far as I know, everything else went well. There was a lot of good technical driving in there for the drivers, navigators. Anthony, you were busy, as you were saying, and that's what we aim to give. A good technical rally. We ran all the stages for everybody, I think, and everybody went home safe at the end of it, which is the main thing.
It was a nice event. I like, as I said to you last week, I like the Ulster rally. Yeah, it was just so technical. It was it's just one of those events. It's you find throughout the year that all the events are so different in character, that you have Galway at the start of the year, and it's always wet and muck pulled out, and it's a totally different characteristic. And then you have the circus, different characteristic again. And then you go to Killarney, and it's mountainous but high speed and flowing, and they're so different. I suppose if you could get little bits out of all of the events, I suppose when you look at, and I shouldn't be giving out too much, but if you look at the service area in Donegal and you look at the service area in the Ulster, and you'd say, well, if there was a nice happy medium somewhere in the middle of that there, it mightn't be too bad. I think the Ulster year spoiled up there with Modern Tires. It's
absolutely.
All it's missing is to paint it green and turn it into a billiard table. Like it is just, you'd nearly be afraid to put a sweet wrapper on the ground. It's like it's operating theatre cleanliness, and It's I just see a message here from Barney Mitchell. I think he's after figuring out how to work this thing. I just see she's on now. I just see it up here.
Yeah, we're bringing him in
Barney on Richard, but yeah, we're trying to lock him in there for the last few minutes. But yeah, it was yeah, that area is lovely, and the refuel next door worked out well. And yeah, it worked out well in general. And I found it with the service during the day on Sunday being an hour and a half. Whereas it looked long, but it allowed people mingle and chat and have a coffee, and it made it like a family occasion. And young people that came in got a time to see the cars and take their photographs. And I see young chaps asking for autographs and that type of thing. And it was lovely to see all that.
There's one thing I'd like to comment on, and it's something that we would have mentioned previously on the podcast. It comes up the whole time here about streaming and TV stuff, but my actual take on it came into practice with what the Ulster Rally production did over the weekend. So people were saying, I'm not going back through an 8-hour stream to look at a segment. But I've always made the point that coverage or that content can be repurposed. So you can make a highlights program out of it if you want to. And one of the standouts out of the coverage was a conversation between Andrew Nesbitt, Eugene Donnelly and Tony Kelly. And that's now up on YouTube as a separate segment, 18 minutes long. This is exactly the point I'm trying to make. And I suppose while in previous times, this is not me saying we shouldn't have things on TV, because I'd love to have them on TV as well. But similar productions have been made, highlights-wise, half an hour long or whatever, and put out on YouTube. And the possibility to do that is obviously there. But it was just really pleasing to see that. It was so handy to actually go and have a little look back and a little listen back to that particular segment. And, you know, I think it's something that people need to be mindful of, Richard. How did you think the streaming went in general? And is that something you go along with regards to the content and repurposing it afterwards?
Yeah, look, to be honest, with being at the event, I'm busy all weekend. I haven't seen any of it. Obviously, the streaming's there for people who maybe can't make it. But the provision of streaming and the options that come out of it are still being discussed. It's probably a relatively new concept. I mean, this is the second time we've done it, in November being the first. And it's something that we think can be developed. As you say, it's a long one to go back and watch, but there's no reason why we can't pull out, or even edit it and make it into a highlights program. So that's something that we're going to work with as a supplier and see if we can do that.
Yeah, good stuff. Richard, thanks a million for jumping on with us 2 weeks in a row. Much appreciated.
No problem at all. Anytime. Happy to do it.
Go off and get yourself a well-deserved rest. Go on.
That's it. Yeah.
Thanks, Richard.
Well done again. Thank you. Just for that.
So look at this for a name and look at this for a backdrop. Barnyard. And
sweet. So fucking Jesus. Barnyard.
What's the crack, boys?
Oh
my God. I was trying to explain, Barney, to Kevin who this Barney Mitchell was, and I related it to a very good friend of him. I won't mention his name. I says, get him, I says, and put Duracell batteries in him. You'll be close. I says, this is the man. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How's everybody else keeping?
I'm the very, very best. Tell us this backdrop. There's no way you're going to get away with that. We need to know, what's all that about?
That was, I got bored on Boxing Day probably about 6 years ago and went back into work and says, fuck this, I'm going to print something for the wall. So I have Casey Stoner up on this other wall here, a big full thing of Casey Stoner and a Honda. And then sure, the Quattro, it's whenever I was a cub, that was the yoke that you watched on TV and you wanted to drive. So it's now on my wall as a bald 40-plus-year-old.
And just
that's as close as I'll ever get to driving it.
And just before everybody starts ringing Barney tomorrow, thinking he fucking manufactures wallpaper, he doesn't. He's in the site writing business.
Sorry, Atney, I'll correct you on that. He does.
You do? I do apologize. Yeah. I thought you were in the sign writing business. You do make wallpaper.
This is actually becoming a very big part of it.
Wow.
But anyway. We're not here to talk about work. Fuck, I'm fed up looking at it.
I was going to say, before you go to the Ulster, I should have got you down here to design something similar, because obviously this is acoustic foam and it makes the thing soundproof and all that. But if we could have incorporated that with something like what you've got behind now, would have been a tidy job. And do you know what's funny? There's about €300 or €400 worth of that foam inside in this, and as you can see, the wall is not even completely covered. It's the same shit you'd get if you bought a fucking drill.
Lad, if you had went into Tesco's, and bought yourself 400 eggs that would have been a lot cheaper. And fuck them out and threw that up in the wall. Done the exact same thing.
Yeah, same thing. As I said, hindsight is the foresight of gobshites. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
So yeah, the weekend. Talk to us about how it went for you, boss.
We could round all the corners anyway. But probably after the first stage, we were nearly ready to give up, but you can't give up in rallying. We had a fairly fraught start to the event, even before the event, probably 15 minutes before. We went to start the car to warm it up, and it wouldn't start. It was dead as a dodo. So the panic was on, get the battery changed. Wasn't the battery. There was a bit of a fault with not the master or the safety switch, but something to do with that. Anyway, I'm not well up on it. We got it bypassed, head to the start ramp, and the car started to overheat. So it transpired that because we bypassed it in the panic, the fans weren't coming on automatically. So there was a panic on then to figure out. The car obviously was brand new to Niall and myself. So the buttons are in a different place, and how you override things is done a different way, and all these things. So we got to the first stage anyway, took off, it was grand. Car was wider than the road. I figured that out. Up the big 400 straight, Anthony, I'm sure you know it. The next thing the car took a dive. Yeah. And we were all like, Jesus, what's going on here? But then it turned out that was the problem. Went over a jump, got a flat wheel. So we drove the rest of the stage in a flat wheel. And now we're ready for the pub at the end of the stage there. There was a quite big welcoming looking pub. We were thinking about pulling in and just going to Super Rally or something the next day. But no, we persevered and got into that big Bronte Homeland stage and hey, it was good then. We started just to have a bit of crack. And here, me and Niall's not out to win a rally. We're out to have a weekend's fun. And that's exactly what we did for the rest of the weekend with no more moments. I think the car was perfect after we got everything sorted out and really enjoyed it. Thought it was a brilliant event. There was a lot. It was a very technical rally. The stages were very technical. As you say, Anthony, the notes, you had a full book of notes just for them handful of stages.
I've never had that before, actually.
We've been away this year now doing a lot of them old rallies in Europe and stuff, and there's a fair bit of work on them, but there was every bit as much work on the Ulster. But it was very enjoyable. When the thing worked, it was very good. Now.
I suppose it would be wrong of us and not to give a mention to a former man that was on this show, Desi, Niall's brother.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What does he have to do? He has led more rallies this year, and then just misfortune or mechanical breakdown. Like he was leading the Ulster, he was leading the circuit.
Yeah.
I'd say if I went and done a bit of studying, he was leading a lot more.
He also has won a fair few this year. He won. Did he won? What was the first couple of forestry rallies?
I suppose, I'm focusing on the internationals, I suppose. Yeah. But yes, you're right. He has won some events.
He has, but he's been very unfortunate. But funny we said in a twisted way, I'm sure he nearly was glad, and he probably went to sleep all right on Saturday night knowing that it was his fault that he didn't finish the rally. Whereas he's had bother with the cars, and there was just silly things going on with the cars all year. So maybe that's behind him now. He made a small mistake that ended up putting him out of the rally. Didn't do much damage to the car. But hopefully now he'll get back into the car and pull a result together now. He deserves it. Yes, he's a good lad.
Oh, absolutely.
Works hard and but what time he gets to go rallying is very condensed with work and family and everything else. So, as everybody else does, there's no professional men really in Irish rallying, so everybody works hard. But it was nice to see him, like Meirion getting the result of the weekend was fantastic as well. When Desi went out, we all sort of hoped that both Josh would get the championship because he deserved it, and Meirion deserved a victory for being such a staunch supporter of the championship this past years.
Yeah, and there was, I know Desi had a lead, but it was a very, very narrow lead he had over Meirion at the end of the day.
Well, hey, he went into Gullion that second time. I think now he showed everybody a clean pair of heels.
He did.
Even though the car was wider than the road.
It's. I suppose, to be fair, I couldn't but feel sorry for poor Damien Turner. He had, no matter what, and yes, was he racing us? Yes, he was. But likewise, we were racing him, and it was a case of, look, I think no matter, I saw we pulled up at the incident, and we spoke to them. Denver Rafferty came over to the door, and you could see I suppose the head of misfortune, as the word that just came into my head. They were so despondent, like and they were still shaking a wee bit just from the incident. But yeah, to go so far in an event, and no matter what, yes, of course we were.
You have to point out there, was it second or third fastest on a couple?
Yeah.
And Gullion, like he maybe knows it well, but Gullion's a great Dava and all them other small the Ballypatrick and stuff back in the day. Great levelers. It didn't matter if you showed up in a world car. You had to drive it. You had to know the lines. You had to know the crest, how to take it, how to carry the speed around the corners. And when you're the right man on an escort, when you get that kind of a road, you're going to show your true potential. And fairness to them, and he done that.
But you get so far, and as I said, look, I know there can only be one victor at the end of the day, but you never like to see somebody. When we pulled up, obviously we were the second car on behind Niall Devine. To see that, you don't.
To be fair, I watched him get off the line, and the first two corners was it a 4 left and a 3 right, or whatever it was, and he just scattered stones over the first two corners.
That's right. We went up to the farmyard at the house.
And I just says to Niall, I says, that's a fucking lunatic away there.
Yeah.
And and then here we were sitting with 20 seconds to go or whatever, and we got this here, and your heart drops, and you just fuck.
You just knew.
You just know, like, because it's.
I think
you can't fault their commitment. They went into it and they were going at it.
Absolutely.
And that's you have to admire that. I love that, the underdog thing, and that's there was no fear in them going to do it anyway. There was a chance it was going to happen. And here, thank God, they all get out of it in the ground. I see Denver's sitting with Shane McGuire next weekend in the Dava rally sprint as well. So
brilliant. I hadn't ever spoke to Denver that much in the past, if ever, and I just got chatting over the weekend. Just found him a pleasant chap. I wouldn't know Damien that well at all, and we were chatting obviously before we wished each other the best. Or Stuart went out and did it on our behalf. But Damien just said to me, we were just chatting about the gap, but I knew Stuart was going to ask me at some point in the time, so I got a black marker and I wrote down 18.8. That's the gap. And I wrote underneath it 17.7. That's what we took out of them the last time we went in here. So that's how tight that was going to be.
You were going to fucking rally. You weren't going to war, lad. You didn't need to do anything. You may as well pull out a gun and threaten them.
It was like fucking the nuclear code. So we shook hands anyway, and we said, at least there's no confusion here. We know exactly who's where and what the stats are. But that banter and mind games and kind of whatever the freak you like, that's all part of it.
Yeah.
But you still don't like to see what you saw. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You don't. That's there's no one paying us at the end of the day, anticipate a day's fun. Like, and look, we'd have had a laugh about it one way or the other. But I to be fair, that kind of we did. Neither of us. We looked at each other and Jesus, we didn't. You don't want that. But sure, look, it's one of those things, I guess.
Hey, come here. Meirion Evans is on fire tonight. He said, I remember when Barney was a sticker man before he was a full-time navigator.
A sticker man.
Big fella, hey. Sure. They don't even want him on wheels. He had to come over to Ireland to go rallying. Like. I had one like a wee one of them orphans.
Orphans? Yeah. Oh, Jesus, that's a story in itself. Actually, I had to laugh because I spoke to... when the boys got their puncher. Now, remember when the boys said they got their puncher on Gullion, no one actually saw the puncher, just because we took 10 seconds off them and they said they got a puncher. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. While we were waiting for them with their puncher, I asked Daisy, I said, geez, I must get Barney onto this podcast. So I think Daisy is probably on watching because he said he was really looking forward to listening to Barney tonight. The only thing I'm disappointed is a couple of small things. I told Barney he had to wear a Hawaiian shirt.
They're not. It's in the dry cleaners.
Oh, it is.
We're going to have a big weekend. This weekend's a bank holiday, so I'm going to grow my mustache here. And full Magnum PI for Sunday,
Magnum PI, yeah, we'll go for that. Actually, I just got an apology here from Josh. Actually, he's only after finishing work now.
No dramas.
You have to make up for it. That's the thing that nobody sees. Meirion and them boys keep me going a bit. He used to be a sticker man, but he's a rally man now. Like, I never wanted to be a co-driver, and I'm still not a co-driver, but whenever you get home from the rallies, like you have a lot of hours to make up, and I'm sure Josh, especially with the cyber thing that he's trying to run, how that lad does it, I don't know. He's definitely got a passion for it,
Yeah, there's huge commitment, isn't there? And the time they put into it is massive.
Aye.
So, what's your plan for next year? Have you any plans, or are you just?
I haven't got a plan for tomorrow yet.
That's the way to do it, lad. That is the way to do it.
I generally wake up in the morning and figure out that you don't eat yourself. Other than that, everything else goes.
I must say, the amount of people that would come up to me and say that, Jesus, I'm always so cross-looking and I'm fucking whatever, like, and that's fine. I keep just telling them I smile on the inside, but if there's ever a man makes me laugh at the rally as this fella, I just look forward to him appearing, like he'll just make me smile.
Barney, I have a story for you here now, right? And I know Anthony won't mind me saying this, but we had a conversation last week about this topic, and Anthony referred to himself as having a resting bitch face. And I know you had made inquiries with a dentist about why that's the case. And the dentist had said in order to actually fix that, you'd have to break your upper and lower jaw and get it wired. And obviously a lot of money involved. And I said, Anthony, there's a lot of people out there that do that for you for free, lad, if they wanted.
A lot of boys are in their neck of the woods now. A couple of pounds will sort that out.
As you're speaking a couple of pounds, just something, Kevin, to get Barney on this show, he was looking to get paid, by the way. He reckoned, and I'll be interested to hear what Meirion thinks it is. Barney was looking cash, by the way, as well. He wouldn't take.
Still looking at it.
We're still looking at it. We just didn't arrange a fee for Barney, like so.
Anthony's pillow is stuffed with cash, I believe, and the mattress, and the wallet.
And along with the communion card.
There's only one. Anthony, sure, isn't there? Yeah. You'll be waiting a while. It's Anthony has me broke. Sure, you stop.
Nice.
That's it. Actually, speaking of course, it's the last. It's the end of the Tarmac Championship. It's hard to believe the year is all but finished.
Yeah.
In the month of.
There's still plenty of rallying left to do yet, I suppose. Maybe just not directly at home, or the Wexford rally, still a big rally. Galway shaping up. There's a lot of. I would get a lot of talk during the week from the guys. They'd be ringing me asking to get their cars or something fixed for their cars, or do the cars for the deliveries, whatever. And you get to know certain rallies have got a certain hype. By the way, the boys are talking to you on the phone. They don't just ring you up and say, "Here, I need a quarter pound for my car," or whatever. They start to talk to you about the rally or who's going and what's happening, and you get a gist, and you start to realise two things this weekend. Galway Summer Rally is going to be a pretty, there's a lot of lads going there trying to go hard. And believe it or not, this small wee rally that's up here at home in Marfelt, club that's running the Dava Forest Sprint. It's one stage done 3 times. I think it's 7 mile each time. But the hype that's on in this area between probably 15 of the drivers, this is beyond World Championship, the way they're taking it. Shane McGurr, Frank Kelly, Marty McCormick for the 2-wheel drive alone. Now, and anybody that's going, stand well back. And then you have Desi, Nahamadou Desi, after that rally, he went and got the gravel kit, stood onto the car. Joe Hegarty lives 2 mile down the road. So he's going to be out ballistic. You have Niall McCullough, only lives another 10 mile down the road. It's an epicenter. These forests used to be, in the 90s, were the epicenter of the be-all and end-all of Northern Irish rallying. So I think now on Sunday, if anybody's at the loose end and doesn't want to be bothered driving all the way down to Galway, come on up for the crack.
So where's that base for anyone who wants to
the service is in Draperstown. And the stage itself is probably about 5-6 mile. It's a big, actually, a mountain biking centre now, the Dava Forest. But it used to be a tarmac rally as well, but this is sort of 50-50 between tarmac and gravel. So I just seen the DVD come in through the door this morning, and I had a quick peek at it and was getting my lunch. And there's definitely going to be a lot of hedges and things that are going to get rubbed. That's the road's only going to be a rough guide to where some of these boys is going to be going. I'm telling you, that's. I know the boy that I'll be sitting with, he'll be throwing her in and hoping she comes out the other side in a fair few of them.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't end up like I can't think who the poet was, but two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I took the one less travelled by.
That wasn't a poet. That wasn't a poet. That was a lad in drugs somewhere. You must have been a taxi driver in your previous life, Kevin, and you heard that story.
No, I'm thinking of taking it up. We need more content. But anyway, that's the Jack and Rory. Barney, great to have you on for a chat. We'll get chatting again, no doubt.
No bother. Yeah.
Barney, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate that.
What a character! I want to give a special mention to Tree Rock, who have been with us for the Tarmac Championship. John O'Reilly, a regular competitor along with Nick Sparks in the Historic Championship this year. And, they came on board, I think it was the Historics Rally for Killarney last year, and then expressed an interest in the Tarmac Championship this year. And very, very grateful for their support. Without it, these podcasts don't happen because there is large overheads. You'll see SVS Productions logo up on the screen tonight as well. They've been with us for the Forestry Championship. And, of course, we have a few rounds of the Forestry Championship that we'll be doing a podcast for. But again, Terry Hegarty, thanks a million. Again, without the support, it simply doesn't happen. So, yeah, I suppose with that in mind, I want to say the best luck to everyone in Galway this weekend. Might be floating around the Wexford actually as well, just to put it out there. But in terms of next year in the Tarmac Championship and things in general, we want to go bigger, we want to go better. And that will be very much the plan, even though we're still a few months away from 2023. Plans are underway to drive things on a bit next year. So if anyone does want to get in touch with us from an advertising point of view, irishrallypodcast@gmail.com is the way to do it. And we'd love to drive on big time. My own commitments this year on a personal level have probably hindered me slightly. Being involved with a GA club, I grossly underestimated the amount of time involved. And that probably hindered me from going to a few more events. But we're hoping next year that will change. And I've no doubt it will. Anthony, from your point of view, and I don't want this to be the Mutual Appreciation Society, but you've been with me for every Tarmac round. The help and the contact is it's appreciated. It's very much appreciated. And we've had serious crack in fairness, haven't we?
I think, to be fair, I just enjoy it more when I'm at the rally, so you can relate to what's been spoken about. Just a small thing, two small things actually I just need to mention, because I know we'll probably be wrapping up in a few minutes. I just want to give a shout out, and this showed me how lucky we are as competitors in general. And it was only such a small thing. I was changing my clothes, actually, weirdly enough, with Niall Borden. He was in the car up from me, who commented on me making an error earlier. And we were changing the clothes, and three small is the wrong word, three young men walked up to me, and their dad, I think it was. And their names were Owen, Jarlath, and Brendan. And their neighbour, we found out after, his name was Caelan McGuinness, actually was his name. But they were just looking for an autograph, something as simple. And we just got chatting to this young man, and we just said, had you seen the cars? And, I suppose we don't appreciate young men like that. They're no different to what we were when we were that age, and we wouldn't go up and ask Bertie Fisher or Austin McHale or Kenny McKinstry or Andrew Nesbitt. You'd probably be a little nervous, and and so on and so forth. So we put them in the back of my wife's Skoda that I had for the weekend, and I drove them up into the service area, and we got them into the car for pictures and that. But I found out that the older of the brothers, he does his own little video blog. So I said I'd give you a little shout out tonight. And I went in, actually, I Google searched it. So I'd advise anyone just do a quick Google search. I think this guy, and God, I hope he'll correct me if I'm wrong. I think the dad said, I think he's only 14 years of age, but it's EJB Rally Videos. If you Google that, it'll come up. He has loads of the events there from Donegal and so on and so forth. And I thought it was very good. And the other thing I want to give a quick mention out to is the Motorsport Ireland National Marshal Seminar. It's quite a unique opportunity to actually have training and be registered as a marshal in Ireland. And their first night kicks off on the September the 8th in Cork City in the Éire Óg GAA Club. And I think it's pretty much circulated on social media, but they visit quite a number of cities. And to be fair, the volunteers and the marshals, and obviously a marshal is everybody that isn't on the officials list. This sport cannot operate without them. And I would pay particular mention tonight to competitors to come to this. If we've heard as competitors all our lives that there's a shortage of marshals and shortage of marshals, and yes, there's a lot of things going on, and yes, there's always going to be a shortage of marshals. But if you look at and I'll just take this jurisdiction for the moment, there's 3,500 license holders. If every one of them did one event marshalling, we would solve the problem overnight. There would be no issue if they did one event. So those training days, September the 8th is in Cork, moves on then 4 nights later on the 12th in Portlaoise, the 21st in Limerick, Swinford and Mayo on the 28th, then up into October, you've Letterkenny on the 4th, Waterford on the 12th, and Cavan on the 17th. So there's an area within reason, within a reasonable drive for everybody. But I'd advise everyone take a quick look in, but a special shout out to competitors. Give it a lash, lads, because they don't marshal themselves events. So somebody has to do it, so we may do it ourselves and give the guys a hand. And, it's quite rewarding to do it and knock in and fall in. And look, if you meet somebody new and meet a new friend, it's not a bad day. As regards being on with you, I enjoyed it, I must say. It's not something I was ever into. But I enjoyed the banter. I enjoyed light drive, meeting new people. I think we've met a lot of nice people over the year. I certainly, there wouldn't be people despite what people would think, I'd be shy enough as from the point of view going up talking to people. I'd kind of keep to myself a wee bit. And I found this rewarding. It was nice. And as I said, when you meet new people any day, it's not a bad day.
Absolutely. I know we actually did talk about this, and I'll finish on this now, but you mentioned it, which kind of spurred the thought again about kids coming up to you and what it means. So I was just scrolling through the phone there, trying to find the pictures, and unfortunately, I don't have this to blow up and share it as a screen share option, but I don't know if we can make it out. That's Mr. Nesbitt and myself. Webcam's just up there. There's a big glare off the screen.
Wow.
Now, I was a fat little you know what, but I incrementally held away over the years. We're still holding her on. But there's another one with Ian Greer.
Wow.
I think there's one there at Bertie Fisher somewhere as well.
But it shows the fact that you still have those. Oh my God. That's you. Wow.
And I still remember going up to them. And it was very, very nerve-wracking. And all of them couldn't be sounder. Nesbitt just lifted me up. Now, I'd say that man had a weak arm at the time because he had his accident 3 years ago. I'd say it wasn't true. I'd say it wasn't great after lifting me up. But he could see I was nervous, lifted me up and relaxed straight away. And I never forgot that. Do you know what I mean? That stuck with me for life. So what you're saying there in respect of young kids coming up and letting them in around the cars and all, that in the hustle and bustle of a service park, when things are probably a little bit strenuous, it is very important, I suppose, for competitors to remember the importance of that duty, I suppose, for the next generation. Very important.
And actually, to be fair, I had forgotten it somewhat. I knew about it, but had forgotten it. And I'll tell you who reminded me was a contributor to this podcast, was Donna Kelly. And as he said, you may get a future marshal, which you have done. You may get a future COC. You may get a future competitor out of that. That small little gesture would, and it's a testament to even what Donna said or what we've spoken about, that you still have those photographs. How many years ago now?
Cork in 99, I think it was.
1999, yeah. So when I saw this, I went, wow, okay, I'm not the most approachable looking guy in the world, and that's okay. But can you imagine what that young man, what his thought process was to walk up and ask me with my trousers down around my ankles trying to get the race suit off and he looking for an autograph? It's a medal he should have got. And but as I said, we put him in the car, and I know he only got to sit in for the drive up on the trailer and so on. But look, we got plenty of pictures and all that. But it'll be interesting to follow those. I'll make a point of following those guys just to keep an eye as to where they'll end up in 10 years' time. So if we see a marshal's jacket on them or a COC or see him in a rally car, we'll say, yeah, okay, we may have helped along the road.
Good stuff. I think that's a good way to end it all. Anthony, thanks a million. Listeners, viewers, thanks a million. Tree Rock SVS, thanks a million. And we'll chat to you all again very, very shortly.